Hey, what's going on guys? I'm Silent Core, and today we're going to be talking about a potential remaster of Grand Theft Auto San Andreas and Vice City. These rumours have been ignited this week after Take-Two's new earnings call and also their acquisition of a remaster-specific studio. So if you didn't know already, Rockstar Games' parent company, Take-Two Interactive, does an earnings call every quarter where they basically talk about the successes and the player counts in all of their games and give kind of financial results. Amazingly, Grand Theft Auto 5 and GTA Online had their best year since launch. Crazily enough, in 2020 they sold more units of Grand Theft Auto 5 than any other year apart from their launch year, which is insane that, basically an 8-year-old game at this point is selling more 8 years later. I'm sure COVID and everybody being at home played a part in so many units being sold, but still very, very crazy numbers there. They also confirmed that GTA Online is still performing very well in terms of player counts, and there was actually more players online in any other year since the launch also. So you can definitely see why there is no rush to make Grand Theft Auto 6 at the moment. So let's go over one of the comments that were made in this earnings call, and this was in question by an investor or an analyst, and he asked, obviously there's a huge appetite for GTA content. What's your perspective there in terms of thinking about remastering prior games? And Strauss Zelnick, the CEO of Take-Two Interactive, replied and said, "It's a great encouraging question. I'm kinda inclined to leave it more of a statement than a question, and any update on a release schedule will come from Rockstar Games." Now this is a really interesting response because Strauss Zelnick in the past has actually been very forthcoming in these investor calls in which he gives out information. Normally he would say this is not something we have on the cards at the moment, and he actually said this regarding the single-player DLC that Rockstar originally planned for GTA 5. And Strauss Zelnick in one of these earnings call actually said that they had no plans to do a single-player DLC, and that was before Rockstar had officially kind of cancelled it and told the community they were no longer working on it. So the fact that he left this question open instead to stay tuned to Rockstar Games is very, very promising. Rockstar Games also made a very interesting acquisition last year in 2020 when they acquired a game studio called Ruffian Games that actually specialises in remastering games. Now Ruffian Games are actually based in my home country of Scotland, and they're quite a small studio, but they have actually remastered and did the whole Halo Master Chief collection. So although small, this studio has a very strong track record of creating remastered games. And after this acquisition, Ruffian Games were rebranded now as Rockstar Dundee, because Dundee is the city in Scotland where it's based. Now if you're from Scotland, Dundee is probably not the city you ever want to visit, but I guess Dundee does have a really strong game dev community. A lot of the universities there are very focused on game devs, and a lot of companies are based there, a lot of especially indie developers. Now what's also interesting is Ruffian Games put up a tweet on Twitter, and this was actually back in 2019, so Ruffian Games was actually collaborating and working on unreleased IPs for Rockstar Games since before this acquisition, so it's been multiple years they've now been working on this. As you can see, the tweet reads, "The team at Ruffian Games is hiring. They're looking for engineers to work on unspecified titles for Rockstar Games." And notice how they say unspecified titles, that's plural, so Ruffian Games is working on multiple games at once, which would also consolidate that theory that we're getting some kind of trilogy, or at least Grand Theft Auto, San Andreas and Vice City as remasters. In this earnings call, Take-Two Interactive also discussed the success of one of their other remastered trilogies, and that was the Mafia game Definitive Edition. If you guys didn't know already, they kind of remastered and re-released all of the 3 Mafia games in a trilogy. So that was Mafia 1 that was actually completely remade from the ground up, so it was a complete remake. Mafia 2 was a remaster, so it wasn't quite as graphically improved as Mafia 1, but still a very good remaster. And then Mafia 3 was also included. I don't believe Mafia 3 had any kind of remastering done to it, but I think it just also included all of the DLCs as part of that trilogy. And I don't know about you guys, but San Andreas and Vice City were my all-time 2 favourite Grand Theft Auto games, so I would most definitely buy these games if Rockstar re-released them. And I'm sure there's a lot of people that have only played Grand Theft Auto 5, that's their first and only Grand Theft Auto game, so if they were to re-release some of the old ones, I'm sure there'd be a huge audience out there of people that would love to play them for the first time. So guys, do let me know down in the comments, if Rockstar were to remaster one of the older GTA games, which one would you like to see? I think personally, if I had to choose one, it would have to go to Vice City. That was just the most nostalgic GTA game for me, and also the first one I ever played. If you do want to be kept up to date with all the latest Rockstar Games news and updates, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on any breaking news. Have a great day guys, and I'll catch you in the next one.